and I think George Williams did that this time as well. Like, he can run really fast and then stop and put a really neatly weighted kick in. So skillful, both of those two. The guy who sits behind me, who after all these years I still don't know his name, to be honest. So tell me
you
your
never
name.
do though, do you? You never actually. You just know him as the guy who sits behind you. I've got a guy at football who's just the whiny voiced guy 2 seats to our left behind us, or we've got one guy who's simply known as Angry Dad.
Ah, that would be me if I had a kid, I'm sure. So yeah, he said during the game though, if Williams was maybe like 20 to 30% better in his decision making, so maybe like one more of the chances he takes a game that he could take, he'd probably be the best player in the league without much challenge. Is that talented, apart from his decision making sometimes that lets him down. But I thought Williams was exceptional in this game despite only probably making the right call.
Decision making is something that can be coached, isn't it?
That's what Adrian Lamb's going to deliver for him.
That's a coachable skill, and if you've got someone like Adrian Lamb and then hopefully Sean Edwards coming in to work with him next year, that should be something that they're able to coach into him.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Highlight moments for me, Oliver Gildart's 2 chase downs of Lola here were great, especially the first one in that first half where he came from the opposing side of the field. From the stand you could sort of see him set off and you knew that he was really putting a shift in to get there, and he did get there. And that was exciting, even though it kind of wasn't in doubt once you saw Lola here slow down and realise he didn't have the pace that he would be caught, but it was still exciting for the fans. And then I suppose the Williams and Farrell tries in the second half both showed that there's more to come from Wigan than just scoring through kicks and opposition errors. Massive credit to Leeds Rhinos for their resilience at forcing Wigan to only score from kicks in that first half, other than the Joe Bullock run over, and what a great start he's had to his Super League career. But massive credit to Leeds for that. But and for Wigan not scoring more tries in the second half. Wigan wasted some opportunities there, like I've said. But those 2 tries showed that Wigan can play down both edges this year. There's no golden edge. There's just golden numbers on the back of the shirts, which caused a bit of a stir. But that showed, I think, that there's more to come from this Wigan side when they really get things going and they start making the right decisions more often than not. So I'm quite excited from that point of view as a Wigan fan.
Joe Bullock sort of stood out for me in terms of that try, and it reminded me very much of Tony Clubb's sort of running style and just bouncing off people and looking like he wasn't going to be stopped. Yeah,
well, you look at those two as outside backs turned into props. You're seeing it quite a lot around as well now. Fast forwards, which is, I think it's going to be a way that we're going to see things go, really. Fast forwards are going to dominate because they can get such a force without necessarily having to be really oversized. So that's good. Yeah, was there anyone from Leeds that you thought stood out? Because on the Albert Goldthorpe voting, no Leeds players got a look in, and similarly on the Man of Steel voting, no one got a look in. Although Thomas Luluai got a vote for Wigan, I would have had a few players ahead of him, but still. Interesting. I'm glad that Clardy didn't get a vote, because I don't want him to win Man of Steel, even though I want him to play well on the field. I think I'd count him out. Anyway.
No one really stood out in terms of Leeds from the highlights I saw.
No, I thought Petteru was better than he was last year, so that's a positive from that point of view. Okay, let's move on. It's not
really much of an achievement, is it?
No, but it's worth saying. It's nice to be nice, Tim. It's nice to be nice. Okay, let's move on to Game 3. I'm going to cover this one as well. I don't know as much about this one. I've only seen the highlights and read the reports, but it's Warrington versus Hull Kingston Rovers on Saturday afternoon. 10,515 turned up. Liam Moore was the referee, and he had some stuff to deal with. The game finished 28 points to 14. It was close at half-time. Hull KR had taken the lead a couple of times in that first half, and it ended up 12-8 to Wyre at half-time before Wyre stretched that out in the second half. Stats back up a good Warrington win, actually. More carries, 216 more metres, better average gain, more than twice as many clean breaks, 11-5, fewer errors, twice as many successful offloads, a 4.4% team tackle success rate. I think overall, that's pretty convincing. So you'd say that justified the win. Individually, Josh Charnley with a try and 167 metres. Chris Hill, who started this season very well, a try, assist, and 154 metres and 3 successful offloads. Who else have we got? Blake Austin, 8 tackle busts and 134 metres. Tom Lynham, 1 try, 103 metres, 3 clean breaks. For the losing Hull KR side, the Hull Kicks and Rhinos had Mitch Garbutt, 167 metres. He's done that 2 weeks in a row, coming off the bench, making a real impact. Danny Maguire, 120 metres, so his running game's back for the old man Maguire. Mosley Massoy, 106 metres, and Robbie Mulhern worked hard in defence this time around. 47 tackles, 13 of which were marker tackles. That is some shift for a prop forward.
That's a good work from him, yeah. On to your views then. Tom Andrews said we would lose by 2 score, so I was nearly right. Just wanted no injuries, so the 2 head injuries is a shame. Ref bottled it with Austin, should have been off. He will get a ban, but that doesn't help us. Well, afraid Tommy didn't get a ban. Glad we held our own with the best team in the league. On to the next one. Could be worse. We could be Leeds or Hull. Crying emoji.
Yeah, so obviously this review talked about that incident, the Blake Austin one. So what did you make of that from what you've seen of it? Because we've only really
I've watched it back a few times. Yeah, I've watched it back a few times. I think it probably looks worse than it really was if you assess it on the actual contact.
I think the outcome obviously was worse than anyone was expecting. Joel Tompkins going to hospital to be checked out for a concussion, in a little bit of doubt for next weekend's game, although he does have time on his hand because they play next Sunday for Joel Tompkins. But yeah, the angle we had wasn't great, was it? Because we couldn't see where the contact was. I think Austin's coach summed it up pretty well in terms of saying he went in aggressively. I'd say there was an element of carelessness to it, because obviously the outcome wasn't good.
Yeah,
and
I think a yellow card was right
around the top of Joel Tompkins' body. So a card is appropriate, I think. Maybe a yellow because no one could be quite clear of the contact.
Yeah, I feel a yellow is about right. I think a red could have been a little hard. I wouldn't have argued it too much, but I think it would be on the harsher end of getting a red.
It was careless or without due care, maybe, rather than quite reckless.
The intent wasn't there to hurt. The intent was there
to knock the ball out.
To stop, yeah, and to do the and I think it was just, if anything, it looked almost like he lost his footing as he went in.
Yeah, I don't know about that excuse. It's swung in quite forcefully. I think he's been going to knock the ball out, but the angle he's coming at, I think, is a dangerous one. So
the one thing I didn't like about this was Andrew Henderson, who was acting as trainer, in the referee's ear while they're making the decision. Really don't like that, and that should be stamped out. And if anything's worth a ban, that is it.
Interesting. I didn't quite pick up on that, to be honest. I was watching.
Yeah, have a look back at the highlights, and you can see him clearly chatting to the ref while that's happening. That is not on.
Interesting. Okay. So
anyway,
where are we at?
FC Page.
Yeah, FC Page says, "Okay, Tom, you lost the game, but you didn't get beat. Haha, back under the rock you go."
Ooh, fighting talk.
Awesome.
Mike Dodd at Mike Dodd 22 says, couldn't go due to ridiculous Saturday afternoon scheduling. Hides from the angry masses.
There's no good time to schedule a rugby league game, is there? Because rugby league people will moan anyway. Great stuff, Mike. I love it.
A solid performance and good win, though. Sounds like Blake Austin saw the Rectum's video footage from last year and showed him what he thought of it. As disgusting as the video was, you don't want any players ending up in hospital, so I wish him a speedy recovery.
And Paul Chamberlain says, bollocks to the game. What's all this about Wolfie being sacked?
Fake news.
You are?
It's all fake news. He's not been sacked. He's signed a new deal.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm sure they put that out that he'd signed a new deal.
Well, I thought the way I'd interpret it is the guy who had been the backup Wolfie for a number of years, who did like the games that main Wolfie couldn't go to, had taken over as as main Wolfie last year, and this year they decided to maybe change the way Wolfie interacts with people and behaves and stuff, and not through this guy doing out wrong, just wanting to change it up a little bit, like Huddersfield have changed up their mascot this year and stuff. That's what I got the impression, but is it so? It isn't. He hasn't been sacked.
Well, that's I'm just scrolling through their Twitter feed now, but I'm sure I saw something saying, contrary to reports on social media, no one's been sacked.
It was one of them screenshot of someone's post on Facebook that looked a bit photoshopped or something.
Here we go. From 2 days ago, breaking news. Despite rumours on social media yesterday, we're delighted to confirm that Wolfie will be in action today and has signed a new long-term deal with the club. # new beginnings.
Fair enough then. Fake news it is. Okay, so, I mean, in terms of star players in this game, it does sound like Blake Austin, was another strong performer for the Wire, which goes to emphasise how significant it was that he wasn't red carded for his foul play on Tompkins. But Chris Hill jumps out of the stats roundup this week, and also, on a couple of the highlights, you saw Chris Hill's impact. I think he's really knuckled down and got his act together from being just a whingy grub last year, really. So I think he deserves some praise. And the other player to deserve some praise, and actually this slides into my highlight moment from this game, from the limited highlights I've seen, Mike Cooper. His try that he scored to close out the game, the last game I think it was, by Warrington, in the last minute. Maybe there's an element of switching off from Hull at that stage, but it didn't. It didn't take away the class of what happened. So it was set up with lovely hands from his middle colleagues, Jason Clark and Chris Hill. To me, it was the nicest looking try that I saw from this game. So, well done to the forwards for passing it through and ignoring the backs and getting their own creativity on for that one.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say on this one, I'm afraid. Non-televised game and all that.
Yeah, no, me either.
Okay, moving on to Game 4 then. This was the Catalan Dragons' first home game of the season, Tim. So do you want to take us through this one?
Yeah, so it finished Catalan 27, Huddersfield 10. It was 18-6 at half-time. 9,211 Catalonians saw this one, and Mr. Tim Grant was the referee.
Can I say the drop goal? I don't remember it happening. Like when I was writing down the score into the rundown on Sunday morning, I was like, when did the kicker drop goal? I must have switched off by that stage.
I always struggle with drop goals. Something I miss with a surprising regularity.
It's right
one
on
of those things.
By what the reports tell me.
Often, often when you get that, I've often switched off mentally by that point, and I have missed them a couple of times on games. Anyway, in terms of the stats, Catalan are way ahead in this game. 225 more metres, 9 breaks to 4, and a 3.2% better team tackle success. The Giants hurt themselves badly with a losing 12-4 error count and a 9-4 penalty count. In terms of the Catalan side, individuals that stood out, Braden William made 2 tries, 7 tackle busts, 197 running metres and 4 clean breaks. That's a clean game for him.
Yeah, no errors, no missed tackles, no drop balls, no penalties on top of that strong stat performance. Good effort.
Matt Whitley, 5 tackle busts, 126 metres, 2 clean breaks. Lewis Tierney, 1 try, 110 metres. And Michael McAlorum, 1 try assist and 45 tackles. For the losing Huddersfield Giants, Darnell McIntosh, 209 metres. Achille Uarte ran for 142 metres. Any other business, Adam O'Brien, 41 tackles, 17 marks tackles, and 0 missed tackles. And Suima Tagi, 100 metres running there. So who got in first on the fan view, do we think?
Shockingly, it was Carsten. He said Huddersfield had a good start, but Les Catalans began dominating them after 20 minutes. Aaron Murphy was shot by the secret rugby league sniper, and Sam Tompkins is still the poor man's Cam Smith and whinging about every decision. Yeah, I think he did create a situation where there was a goal line dropout rather than or the other way around. Anyway, there was one time where I noticed it was particularly in Mr. Grant's ear, Sam Tompkins. But that Aaron Murphy collapse was quite something, wasn't it?
It was amazing in how incredibly ridiculous it was, because it was like, as Carsten says, there was a sniper hiding in them. Who would the rugby league sniper be?
I see it more as like one of them cartoon things where it was kind of like,
Boing.
like like, I'm going to stay up, I'm going to stay up, I'm going to stay up. Oh no, I'm going to fall down. Like he went down in stages,
down I go.
and he really hammed it up with the waving of the arms before he went down.
Yeah, who would the rugby league sniper be? Who do you reckon's bitter against the game and got an axe to grind and would just be sat there up on the roof with a gun randomly shooting